and let's get started and looking at how we can take control of your career. And the very first way to do that is to start reflecting back. And of course, for individuals, things are changing all the time. Life changes, work changes, and certainly what we find at this particular time of the year, people start to think about, how has the year been? Could it have been any different? So quite often, especially at this time of year, we're feeling a bit weary. It's been quite a tough year maybe for some of you, and we're just thinking, in 2016, that's not going to happen to me again. I want to cope much better. I want to get through the year and still feel as fit and healthy as I did at the end, as I did at the beginning. For some people, it might be about getting a new role or a new job, a complete different change. And for other people, it might be about new challenges in their existing role and maybe in a new role. Yeah, so I wanted to move on to a thing that I'm calling Me Plc. It's a term that's been around for a little while, but I'm really banging the drum about it now because in the current economic climate, and I can't see things changing in the future, there is definitely not going to be a job for life. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that moving around from organisation or from role to role in the same organisation keeps us fresh, helps us learn new things, and that's a really good thing. But there's definitely not a thing as a job for life. So if we start to think of ourselves more like a company would think about themselves and more about having a brand, then we can look at our career in a slightly different way, and back to taking control, we can drive that to a certain extent. The numbers are not necessarily important. It's the knowledge that's important, because you can change the numbers. But what you wouldn't want to do is to assume one thing and then find out something different. So in terms of where you've been this year, in terms of your subject matter expertise, and where you want to be next year, you might just like to give yourself a score and then think about, do I need to do some more research? Time management would be a really good example of a business basic. But then when you look at the skills that employers are looking for, there are others that are just obvious. So for example, communication skills. Now of course you need to be able to speak to your teams and speak to your managers, but emails, for example, I see some atrocious emails. Can you write a good, succinct email? Can you write a report? Are you assertive enough? Do you speak up when you need to? So communication itself is a whole bundle of skills. Well, personally, and especially this is important because we are talking about getting control, I think information gives you choice. So you know more, I hope, now than you did at the beginning of this webinar about where you are. And the reason I said keep a pen and paper is because it probably is beneficial for you to now go back over that and review it and think, what does this mean for me?